Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today let's talk about the books I read in January. I read 3 novels and 2 novellas, and overall it was a really good start to 2024. And one of the books I'm going to talk about is The Trials of Empire. We're going to save this for the end. It's going to be completely spoiler free, but there's a lot I want to talk about with this book. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get into it. First, let's kick things off with The Jade of Janloon by Fonda. This is a prequel novella to the Greenbone saga, and I can't even tell you how good it felt to be back in this world, even if it wasn't for that long. Even though the story does completely stand on its own fine, and you'll understand what's going on if you haven't read the Greenbone saga, I highly recommend you do not read this without reading the Greenbone saga. It's not gonna do it for you. You're just not gonna have that emotional connection to the world and the characters and just everything. So we're following our main character Pulo in this, and he works at a jade shop. He's a jade setter's apprentice. He does have other, dreams, aspirations, but for now he works in the jade setter shop. They can set green bones with their jade. They can also repair weapons that have jade in them. And so at the beginning of the story, someone comes into the jade shop and they drop off this weapon that needs to be repaired. I'm not going to spoil for you who the weapon belongs to, but long story short, later that evening that blade is stolen from the jade setter shop, and Pulo takes it upon himself to get to the bottom of what exactly happened. Let me just tell you, he's a lot better than me, because who this blade belongs to, you wouldn't see me again. I would first flight out to Espinia. I would have to flee. I couldn't stay in Janloon. But again, he's better than me. So Pulo, he goes around and he is really digging into this mystery. And in the process of doing this, he comes across some characters that we already know. It was great. I just really love how things played out. And again, just opening up this story and falling in love with this world all over again was perfect. Next, let's get into The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. This was amazing. This is now my 3rd read from Tananarive Due, and she just hasn't let me down yet. It's just incredible. This is a historical horror novel, and it takes place in Jim Crow, Florida. And we have 2 main characters in this. The first is Robbie. He's a 12-year-old boy, and we also have his older sister, Gloria. One day, this powerful, well-connected landowner's son makes advances at Gloria, and Robbie comes to her defense and ends up kicking this landowner's son. And because of that, Robbie is sentenced to 6 months in this reformatory. And the things that have been going around about this book are absolutely true. It is just extremely dark. It is hard to read in some places. Just some really stomach-churning, despicable things happening. I think that is just fascinating that Tananarive Due can just craft these really despicable characters that really, bring something out in you. I also think the setting of this was really well crafted and well realized. In the book, this town in Florida is pretty well known for, the residents experiencing odd supernatural things, seeing ghosts. There's so much death and racism and just brutalities that have happened in this town. And because of that, this town just has such a almost like heavy feeling to it. Some of the residents can actually see ghosts, and it's a pretty well-known thing that they are around and that they can haunt places. And so Robbie, he's someone who can also see these ghosts. They call them haints, and that also impacts his time at the reformatory as well. This is just a great read. Like I said, we do get perspective from both Robbie and Gloria. This book is pretty long. It's almost 600 pages, and the length of it was starting to get to me, especially when we got into the second half of the book and got more of Gloria's chapters. So sometimes something really interesting or even just terrible would be happening to Robbie, and then we would flip back to Gloria. And I feel like the pacing in the second half of Gloria's chapters was just not becoming my favorite thing. But again, this was amazing. Tananarive Due is a master storyteller. Next, let's get into The Hunters by Wragg. This is the first book in a series, but so far this is still the only one that's out. And I did have a really good time with this book, but I will say I didn't connect with it as much as I thought I was going to. I didn't come out of it loving it by any means, but it was still really entertaining, really enjoyable. We have a few characters that we rotate through in this, but one of our main characters is this woman, Ree. And Ree, she has a really dark past that she has been running from a while. And the book starts when she is many years removed from, this dark past and everything. And she's now living in this remote mining town with her niece Giovanni. But the story starts to get in motion when other characters from different parts of this world kind of descend upon the town, and they are looking for Giovanni, and you don't know why. And that gets Ree into action, and the 2 of them, along with some other characters, end up fleeing this town. And from there, it really becomes this cat and mouse game across big landscapes and deserts and things like that. And over the course of the journey, you still have so many questions about Ree and what she was into back in the day, and also, what is going on with all of these characters who are trying to get to Giovanni. There's so much action in this. It is action packed. So I think if you're just looking for something fun and very entertaining, very low magic type of book, this would work for you 100%. But I think because of how quickly things were moving and how, you know, the characters were just kind of going from one situation to the next, I didn't really get the depth with the characters that I was hoping I would get. After a while, I think some of the conversations just feel very repetitive in this book because they'll flee the bad guys, they'll stop somewhere, Giovanni asks a ton of questions, Ree's like, don't worry about it, we got to keep moving, and it's kind of like rinse and repeat over the course of this story. And you just feel like when you leave that conversation, it was just so empty. And I wanted more from some of these character interactions. And also because of Ree's dark past, you have so many questions about what she's done in her life. She's very skilled with different weapons, but we don't really get to see her in action because a lot of times when they're encountering enemies, we flip to Giovanni's perspective and Giovanni is focused on something else, and so her attention's not on Ree. And so since we as the reader are with Giovanni, we don't see Ree doing all the cool stuff in the background. So it kind of feels like that, and you're just like, I know you're cool and I know you have this dark past, but like, I want to see something happen. Again, it's fun. I loved all the action scenes in this and it's very entertaining, and I will definitely read the second book when it comes out, but I do wish I had just gotten a little bit more depth from these two characters. Next, I read Among Mon Crows by Veronica Roth, and this is a novella coming out from Tor in, I think, May. I really enjoyed this. This is an urban fantasy story. It's set in Chicago. I know when we hear the name Veronica Roth, we automatically think about Divergent and, you know, maybe how much we didn't like the end of the series, that sort of thing. But since then, over the years, I've read some of Veronica Roth's short stories, like short sci-fi stories, and I really think she's doing a good job kind of making more of a name for herself in the adult sci-fi and fantasy space. I'm really enjoying her work lately, and Among Crows is really good. So this is a dark adult urban fantasy story. It's set in Chicago, and I love that aspect of it because it's pretty rare when I read something that's actually set in Chicago, and sometimes it's like dystopian Chicago, but this is like present day, like Sears Tower, Edgewater, there's the lakefront, here's the Red Line. It was really cool actually, and this is a world that has a lot of different creatures in it, and there is a holy order where they can like send out their best people to come and slay the creatures around the world. And so our main character that we're following is this young man named Demeter, and at the beginning of the story he gets possession of this flower, and you find out that he wants to have an audience with this powerful witch. And over the course of the story, as he's trying to find this witch and gain an audience with her, other characters join Demeter on this journey, and the whole time you don't know why he wants to meet with her. So there's a really, I think, strong mystery element to the novella, as like, oh, what's he gonna ask for? What is he gonna do? And I really liked it. I really liked the friendships that Demeter made along the way, and it was just really good. So I thought this was incredibly atmospheric and just spot on with some of the Chicago locations and landmarks. I had such a good time with this, and yeah, I can't wait to read more from Veronica Roth. Also, I think this was the perfect length. Sometimes I come out of novellas thinking, actually that was a little too long, that should have been a short story, or more often than not I come away thinking, you know, that could have been another 20 pages to wrap some things up. But this was just as long as it needed to be. She got the job done. I really enjoyed this. So yeah, mark your calendars if this sounds interesting. This comes out in May. And then last but certainly not least, let's talk about The Trials of Empire. This is the third and final book in the Empire of the Wolf trilogy. I can't believe this trilogy is over. It has been such a wild ride, and I am so happy to say, I remember my last update about when I was reading this book, I was really hoping that this would stick the landing, and I am so happy to tell you that Trials of Empire sticks the landing. This was fantastic. When I think about this third book, we have come so far from where we started in The Justice of Kings. I could not picture that we were going to end up here. A lot of this book is a horror novel. There are just so many creepy and intense moments in this book as the magic starts to get darker, as the religious themes begin to get darker. This is so good. Trials of Empire picks up very quickly after the events of the second book, Tyranny of Faith, and it's go time. And the stakes are so high that characters need to be all in. They need to put aside what they think is morally right in order to get the job done. And that becomes such huge moments of tension for Von Valt and Helena over the course of this book in particular, because Helena just can't wrap her head around doing evil things for the greater good or doing evil things for the right reasons. And Von Valt is like, I need you in on this. And because of that, and because of the connections that Helena has to otherworldly things. We'll keep it like that. She is really going through it in this book. I think more so than Justice and Tyranny. In this book in particular, Helena is really struggling. She is losing her mind. She is lashing out at people around her because she just cannot handle what's going on. And I think her internal struggle over the course of Trials of Empire is just captured so incredibly well. This was incredible, you guys. This just brings the series full circle. It'll make you want to go back and reread certain things or certain scenes from Justice of Kings that kind of tie into this and how we got into this situation. But I think just the natural progression of this series just gets better and better and better, and the world gets bigger and the problem gets larger, and it all just comes together in a beautiful and satisfying way. And I love the last line in this book. This is incredible. This came out in early February. This is now solidified as one of my all-time favorite trilogies. I just love it so much. If you guys have missed me talking about Justice and Tyranny over the course of the last couple of years, I will link some videos down below for you to check out, link some stuff on the screen. But this was fantastic. I think Richard Swan did a phenomenal job really exploring the depths of morality and evil and religion and just all of that, and it's so good. So please do yourself a favor if you have not read this trilogy yet and go back to Justice of Kings. For those of you who have read Tyranny of Faith and you are a little worried about this book going into it and if it would stick the landing, I'm happy to say you can rest because it does. This was incredible. So that is it for me, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Let me know how the start of the year went for you, what you read, what you loved. Let me know what you didn't love, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.